Shanti. Thank you for joining us today. Those of you that were with us on Wednesday, or you caught up with the video for Wednesday, you'll know that we read 13 points of Dadi Prakashmani's specialities. And today we're going to continue reading some more of those from point 14 onwards. So I'll hand over to Ranjan then.
Om Shanti, good morning to you all. So, it's specialities of Dadi Prakashmani ji, and we are on to number 14 today. While being responsible for the yajna, she was the epitome of renunciation and tapasya. While looking after every responsibility of the yajna with love, Dadi always remained epitome of renunciation and tapasya, while coming in a connection with thousands and hundreds of thousands and serving them. Dadi gave everyone happiness, peace, and wealth. She was always introverted. She was never separated from Baba for even 1 second. She always used to say, Baba is sitting on my head and on my shoulders. We are his puppets, and he is making us dance. He is playing a game with us. No one can separate me from Baba. Number 15, one who surrendered and inspired others to surrender every thought, breath, and moment. Dadiji valued time a lot. She always used to say, everyone, every moment of the confluence age is very precious. So do not waste it. Dadi used her every breath, thought, and moment in a worthwhile way and also inspired others to do the same. Let nothing go to waste. By being aware in every breath, she became so strong. The mantra of Man Manaba was always in her awareness. In order to become number one, now is the time. Each one can become that. Dadi demonstrated this. 16. As well as an authority of experience, she was an incarnation of humility. Dadiji understood the depth of knowledge and yoga and experienced these, means knowledge and yoga she experienced. She was an authority of experience. Dadiji decorated herself with Baba's teachings. Dadiji was always in the front to do any type of physical or subtle service. She would first do everything herself and then tell others. While being an authority, she was an incarnation of humility. Everyone loved her words of authority. While being an authority of truth, her every word also expressed beautiful manners. Number 17, took the yajna forward on the basis, Dadiji took the yajna forward on the basis of her faith and trust. Dadiji had deep faith in herself and in Baba. You know, Baba's Murlis, there are about 4 types of faith. First, the self, Baba, family, and drama. So, Dadiji had deep faith in herself and in Baba. She had faith in the children of the yajna and enabled them to move forward by giving them responsibilities. Dadiji didn't have to forget anything. She conquered her attachment to the body and everyone. Sorry. Very good. Dharmachush, why didn't you continue?
Keep trying.
Sorry, I got a bit of a cold or whatever. Better if you read it. It's going to keep on disturbing.
Okay, try. Otherwise, I'll take over.
Sorry about that. I'll start again. Dadiji had deep faith in herself and in Baba. She had faith in the children of the Yagya and enabled them to move forward by giving them responsibilities. Dadiji didn't have to forget anything. She conquered her attachment to the body and everyone else in a second. She never had any doubts in her faith, and because of this, her foundation was strong. She never shook in any situation. Her state was always unshakable, immovable, and constant. Her unbroken faith has brought the Yagya so far. Number 18, blessed with divine intellect and divine drishti. Dadiji kept her intellect very divine and pure. Dadiji used to say, "It is not my intellect. Our Baba is the intellect of the wise, and he has given me the blessing of a divine intellect and divine drishti." So this is the gift Baba gives us when we first recognize Baba and go to him. Baba gives each and every child and then asks us to look after our divine intellect and drishti. So Dadiji is talking about that. There can never be any arrogance of the intellect. With this speciality, Dadiji was number one in following the Father. It was as though she had received a blessing of divine drishti. She never went into trance, but whenever she went into Baba's room, Baba definitely gave her one or another message, and she spoke with that intoxication and faith. Today, Baba told me this. Baba told me about this service. You now have to do this, or you mustn't do this. It was with her inspirations that the big mega programs were so successful in every state of Bharat. So in the 90s, wasn't it? There was everyone. You have to explain a bit.
So yeah, early 2000s, I think we had those Murali's in the last few months on the Sunday, and the BKs in India had got together and ran about 6 or 7 programs of nearly 100,000 attendance. So then they became known as the mega programs. And there were at least 2 of the 3 main daddies at those programs. So Dadi Prakashmani, Dadi Gozar, and Dadi Janki were the leaders of the Brahma Kumaris at that time. And some of those programs had all 3 of them, and some of them had 2.
And they had big pictures of daddies. So, in Bharat, everyone got to know all the 3 of the daddies. And a lot of people came. And number 19, a big heart and an unlimited heart and always merciful. Dadiji always had a big heart and was always generous hearted. Whoever came to Baba's home, she would look after them in every way and offer great hospitality and sustained everyone with a big heart. Dadiji had an unlimited heart and she was merciful and an ocean of love. Her mercy was altruistic and full of knowledge. She never became trapped in anyone, nor did she allowed anyone to trap in her, trap her in there.
To be trapped
in her, yeah. Nor did she allow to be trapped in her. She always placed Srimad of Satguru Baba on her head and became complete and perfect. We also have to place our steps on her footsteps and become like her. Number 20, always an unlimited intellect and unlimited bhavna. So good, pure feelings for everyone. Dadiji always used to say, it isn't just Madhuban for me, but the whole yajna is Baba's, and so it is mine. All the children in this land and abroad are Baba's children. It is Baba's family and Baba's centers. And so she had equal love for all. Her intellect was always in the unlimited. Madhuban belongs to everyone. This is the land of Baba's divine activities, the land of Baba's tasks or duties, the lovely and alokik land, and each one has an equal right to it. She always had such unlimited bhavna in her heart. 21. She never placed anyone's defects in her heart and always picked up virtues. Dadiji always used to say, Baba has given me the duty to look after all Baba's children. I felt when Baba gave me this duty. Then, as well as looking after everyone, I have to move along with them and continue to do everything with them. I have to fulfill this responsibility with everyone and also accommodate everyone. I can never say so and so is like this, so let me leave them. If I leave them, where will they go? I mustn't leave anyone, nor must I become distant from anyone. They have become Babas, and so I have to look after them. I have to work with them. I do not move along keeping anyone's defects in my intellect. I always remember this mantra. Do not keep anyone's defects in your heart. By keeping defects in your heart, your attitude and interaction with others become like that. Every child of Baba definitely has one or another special virtue, and this is why Dadiji always picked up virtues from everyone. Number 22, she was always a jewel of contentment and had the bhavna to make everyone content. Dadiji was always a jewel of contentment. In her intellect, she always had the feeling, let everyone be content with me. Contentment is everyone's blessings for me. Dadiji used to say, I am only aware in my intellect that I have to make everyone content. I have to claim good wishes of contentment from everyone. With this dharana inculcation, your intellect always stays carefree. Contentment is generosity. To the extent that you are generous, accordingly, you will be able to make everyone content. We mustn't be selfish in any way. I think that is beautiful explanation, isn't it? Contentment is generosity, you know. So to the extent that you are generous, accordingly, you will be able to make everyone content. We mustn't be selfish in any way. Number 23, a cheerful face that was yog-yukt and full of divinity. Dadiji's face was always yog-yukt, full of divinity and cheerful. She would give her full attention to the subject of yoga. She was always aware. Whatever action I perform, everyone who sees me will do the same, and this is why she followed every aspect of Srimad with determination. She followed the godly Maryadas fully, and by doing this, she became Maryada Purushottam. In bracket, highest being following the highest codes of conduct. So it is Maryada, Maryada. Maryada means highest code of conduct. Purush means the being. Uttam means the highest. So Maryada Purushottam, the highest being, following the highest codes of conduct. She always used to say, the more we stay within the codes of conduct, the more blessings we will receive from Bapdada. Blessings are not received by asking for them. Become Maryada Purushottam, highest being, and following highest code of conduct, and you will automatically receive God's blessings. To stay within the codes of conduct is our true religion. The other day it was your Brahmin religion, true, double non-violent, and this also. To stay within the codes of conduct is our true religion. Number 24, Dadi was full with the treasure of supersensuous happiness. The special treasure of the confluence age is supersensuous joy. Dadiji always stayed in the experience of that happiness. For this, she kept a very good balance between being detached and loving, to the extent that she engaged in business activities. Accordingly, she also remained introverted. So it's the balance that kept her always have experience of that happiness, supersensuous joy. So being detached and loving to the extent that she engaged in business activities, accordingly, she also remained introverted. She was always absorbed in the experience of God's love, supersensuous joy. While performing actions, she always stayed beyond. She was always aware this is the final pilgrimage of life, and so we have to always remain free from any waste and be beyond. We have to use our thoughts, breath, and time in a worthwhile way and become an embodiment of success. Number 25, Dadiji was number 1 in imbibing the qualifications appropriate to the aim. From the beginning, Dadiji kept the aim, I have to become complete and perfect, the same as the father. I have to return home, karmatit. I have to create my angelic stage. I definitely have to fill myself with the essence of spirituality. So, angelic stage, karmatit, and fulfill the essence of spirituality. Although service is one part of our study and it is the huge subject, but together with service, we must keep remembrance in equal measure. She developed qualifications appropriate to her aim and became karmati and equal to the father. In her, if you look at Dadiji's in 2006, 2007, you could see she started to look like Brahma Baba. She was very angelic if she came, or, you would see the replica. It was really good to see her stage and her angelic stage in Burma. It was really visible, even when she was, then she became, body became very quite in, but Dadi was okay. But still, she was reading Murli and come and her step. and that you think is Baghdada and when you look at Brahma Baba and it's like that. Cha Om Shanti.
Listening to those points, I was thinking about Dadi's qualities, and it makes you reflect on yourself. My present effort is to check those three languages. I've mentioned them quite a few times in my recordings. You'll remember that that blessing was repeated twice, I believe, first time in April and again in June, around those three languages, the language of the eyes, the language of feelings, and the language of thoughts. So presently, I'm working on that what am I communicating? What am I conveying? Because we can have control over our words and behavior, and we should have control. But as human beings, we can behave decently, and internally, we can be burning away. And you can see that when you meet people as well, can't you? That externally, they're being polite to you, but their eyes show that they don't really respect you, or they don't really like you. And you can feel sometimes from them, there's a vibe. So Baba's getting us to check that how much is there an alignment between what you know from Baba's morally and what you actually are as a being. And so hearing these points about Daddy really gets me to think on that, because I think probably why Baba chose her as his main instrument after he became an angel. And perhaps it's also something she developed over time, was this alignment that she had between her teaching and her being. And for spiritual leaders, that can be very difficult. We've seen that over the centuries, that they can teach one thing, but then the actual being and the actual reality, like almost the behind the scenes reality, can be different. But that wouldn't be good enough for Baba. He is expecting us to have alignment right to our dreams, isn't he? He wants complete purity. And he wants complete peace. So it's the effort I'm making at the moment to look at these languages, not what I'm saying to someone verbally, but what is my vision saying to them? And vision, of course, is deeply connected with attitude, and attitude is always very deeply connected with feelings. So, what attitude am I conveying in my vision, in my feelings? And how am I really thinking about someone? Because again, our real thoughts about someone or something could be different to actually what we're saying. And that's not good enough for the golden age. That's not good enough for Baba. Baba is looking for us to have alignment, to have a complete, positive, pure consciousness. And I think this is what Dadi Prakashmani exemplified. And hearing her points just now and on Wednesday, I'll put the recording up again for those of you who missed it for these two sessions. Or there's a document that I put up in the group that has those specialities. Then it really makes me think about that, that where is that alignment? One of the points mentioned that Daddy had this attention not to hold anyone's defects inside of her heart, anyone's shortcomings. And it reminds me of some of Mama's classes too. Daddy and Mama were together for the best part of 30 years. So we mentioned on Wednesday that Mama was, of course, Mama. So she was the senior mother. And Dadi Prakashmani was known as Munni Mama, the junior mother. And Mama used to travel around, but she spent a lot of time in Bombay in those days. And Dadi Prakashmani was the daddy of Bombay. So they were together then a lot. They were together before that in Karachi because they both came to Babur in roughly the same time in the last few months of 1936. And so Mama and Daddy, they had a very, very deep and close relationship. And Daddy would travel around with Mama sometimes. So Mama also talks about this in her classes. The word that she uses for like the heart and the subconscious mind is chit. It's like the memory part of the subconsciousness, the chit, CHIT with a soft T. And Mama would say, don't hold anything in your chit. And you have to make your chit cheerful. Clean, keep it clean. And if you keep it clean, it's cheerful. And it's something that Daddy embodied because she didn't hold anything inside. She has this natural happiness about her. She doesn't need to try. And a lot of the reason why we feel a lack of happiness sometimes is because we're holding something inside. We've taken something inside ourselves. And then the other point that Ranjan Ben was also emphasizing was this point of contentment. And the Bhog message after Daddy left had one message from Daddy for the Brahmins, and it was a powerful one. She said that one of her keys to reaching her karmatit stage was that she kept this slogan in her mind to be in her self-respect and to give respect to everyone. So she recommended this to us all. She said, if you just focus on this, so much will be changed in your life and in yourself. And you also end up clearing a lot of karmic accounts through that. That we've got to make it an ethic that I have to be in my self-respect. So that's linked with that contentment and generosity. The other day, Baba was explaining to us that behind desires are worries, and worries are linked with a lack of self-respect. But Baba says, be in your self-respect and then give respect to others. And Daddy was saying, be generous in this. And it's when we don't feel we need to add anything to ourselves, we feel that we can't add anything, and we feel that we won't lose anything. So if we can come out of that mindset that if I give respect to someone, somehow I'm losing something. Somehow they will become bigger than me. I will lose some esteem. Or I feel like I want to gain something. So we can have these complicated mindsets where somehow if we are generous with our respect, we will gain some respect. But Dadi really kept things clear for herself. She developed this ethic. She has to give respect to everyone. It's an ethic. And then to be generous with that. And so a lot of conquering the vices, I think, is linked with this because we have to fulfill ourselves through yoga. And then the more contented we are emotionally, then we don't have those worries. We don't have those desires that we chase after. So then the vices are not so powerful for us. We can conquer them. We can control them firstly, and then we can conquer them. So listening to those points, thinking about Dadi, I really was reflecting on myself and the steps that I need to take to become like that too. I wonder if any of you that are with us would wanted to share anything or ask anything.
We still have 10 minutes if you wish to share or ask.
No?
No?
So let me finish then with one story, an anecdote then. So back in 1997, I was 19 years old at that time, and my first degree is in law and social sciences. And I chose a degree, I was studying at the University of London, and I chose a degree which involved some work placement as part of that degree. And my first work placement was 6 months at a law firm in the city of London. It was a commercial law firm. And within the first few weeks, and one of the reasons they chose me, I remember at the interview, I said that I'm a meditator. And they told my careers officer at the university that we want the meditator. So they partly chose me for that. And then within the first few weeks, an invitation came to one of the law partners to the International Bar Association conference, which that year was held in Delhi. I think it was at the Moria Hotel in Delhi. And I don't know, it must be Baba, right? So they had this thought, well, they couldn't go. And the partners thought, well, why don't we send Shayla? And so then I was only with them a few weeks at that time. And they asked me, well, will you be able to organize your own accommodation? If you can, we'll pay for the flights and things like that. So I messaged Sister Jayanti and I said, could this be possible for me to stay at the center? And she said, oh, yes, definitely. So I stayed at the new Panda Bhavan Center, which is at New Rotok Road. I'm sure some of you have stayed there on your way to Malabar over the years. That place is also a special history. Not only Dedi Gulzar lived there for many years, but that was the first center, um, outside of Madhuban, where the whole Brahmin family sponsored it. It was 1972. So the Dadis asked all of the Brahmins to contribute, and you have like a collective contribution. So that's the first one there. And so I was able to stay there. And then it was around Diwali time. So I asked them, Sister Jayanti said to me, well, if you're going, you should definitely go to Madhaba. So I asked the law firm that it's Diwali time. Do you mind if I also go for a few days to visit family. And they said, oh, that's okay, no problem. So I went to the conference and I also made some connections there with different lawyers for them in Delhi. And then I flew to Ahmedabad. And at that time, there was a car going from Gujarat to Madhuban. And so I was able to get a lift in that car and go up to Madhuban. And they had the Diwali program in London just before I was leaving. And I'd given a short speech in that program. And Dadi Janki was so happy. And the next morning, she'd asked me to just take leave from the class. And she had given me a tie pin to hold the tie together. And it had a Shiv Baba symbol on it. And she said to me to take this tie pin to Dadi Prakashmani and show her and ask her that does she want them made for the Madhuban Nivasis, the Madhuban brands. So when I arrived, she had must have already told Dadi Prakashmani that I was coming. So when I arrived in Madhuban, it was out before the season for Baba's meetings. So Madhuban was very quiet. And I arrived and Dadi Prakashmani was waiting for me in the courtyard. So the center in Ahmedabad must have also told her. And it was about maybe 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And she saw me and waved and she said, come, let's sit and talk. And she signaled for me to come into her office area, which is next to where Baba's room is. And Shashi Didi was also there. She was in the courtyard. So I said, Daddy, but I've just arrived. Let me shower first, change my clothes, and then come. And she didn't really hear or understand me properly. And so Shashi Didi then went and explained to her that he's just going to go. So she said, okay, but she said, come quickly. And so then I quickly went and came back again. And in her office, it was Ishu Daddy was sitting behind the desk to my right. And I was sitting on one of the armchairs, and Daddy Prakashmani was sitting opposite me. So there was maybe 2 or 3 meters between us. And I firstly completed my mission. I took it I was a conscientious young man. So I took that type-in thing seriously. And I handed it to Daddy and gave Daddy Jenki's message. And Daddy looked at it and sort of nodded, and she said, oh, show Issue. So I gave it to Issue Daddy. And Issue Daddy just was very logical. She said, oh, yes, it's very nice, but no one in Madhuban wears ties. That's right. It never occurred to me in all those days that, of course, why? And it was only some years later I'd heard a class by Sister Jayanti, and she was sharing that one of the techniques that Daddy Janki used to connect her with Daddy Prakashmani and with Didi Manmohi is she would send like pointless things for her to take to show them. Like, I think one time it was a silver tray or a silver bowl or something. And it would be like she's given you something really important to do, and you're just going to Daddy and, oh, Daddy Janki sent this. And I think Daddy Prakashwani was used to this. That Daddy Janki is just giving these things, but not really for that. It's that Daddy Janki was always very, very good at connecting everyone with all the other daddies. She would always introduce everyone. And this is one of the ethics of us as BKs as well, that you mustn't just have your students connected with you. You must connect them with other seniors as well. And you must connect them with those who are older than you as well. So that was that. And then Dadi Prakashmani asked me, well, do you want to ask them anything? And I said, yes, I would like to become, yeah, I can see how you have become such a great instrument. And what is it that you do? Why is it that Baba chose you and handed over to you, do you think? And she said that she used to talk about herself in the third person. So she said that it's because Daddy has no concept of I. And it's just Baba is Karavanha, the one doing everything, and I, the soul, am Karanha. And there's just Baba, there is no self. And then the next day, so at that time it was Daddy's 75th birthday, and they were celebrating it over 5 days with 5 cultural programs. And each day we got a pack of 15 tolas. So over 5 days, you got 75 tolas. And I was there for, I think, for 3 days of those 5. And the next day, I was sitting with one of the brothers who'd come up from Gujarat in the courtyard where the seats are outside of the history hall. And Dadi Prakashmani always felt a little bit cold in Mount Abu. So she would position herself in the sunshine. You might remember those white plastic chairs in the courtyard. And wherever the sun went, she sort of moved around the courtyard to sit in the sunshine. And we were watching her for a couple of hours as people were meeting her. Brother Nirvera was talking to them, and so on. And we didn't really have the courage, I think, to interrupt. And then eventually she looked a little bit free, so I developed the courage to go and talk to them. And I said to the brother as well, he was a doctor, his name was Dr. Sachin, and I said, come up with me. And we both went to say hello to Daddy. And Daddy said, I've been waiting for hours for you to come and say hello. And I said, oh, Dad, I want to interrupt you. You seemed like you were talking. I said, no, she said, no, I was sitting here waiting for you to. You were just sitting over there. And so both the daddies, I found this with Daddy Genki as well. They didn't really like formality. And like you always think they are busy. They really didn't make any sense to them. And not just with those daddies, like all of the daddies, didn't make any sense to them, that concept of being busy. And they would all like, oh, why don't you just come and talk to me? And we like often are into like appointment culture. Like if we don't have an appointment, we don't talk to anyone. But they were not like that. They were just, oh, just come and talk to me. And I said, well, Daddy, I wanted to just ask you one more question. And she said, sure. And I said, you're the best instrument and you're like such a clear replica of Brahma Baba. So how can I also become a good instrument for Baba? And she smiled at me. She grinned both with her mouth and with her eyes. And she said, there are 4 things. She said, the first is what I told you yesterday. You have to eliminate all concept of yourself. Second, she said, you have to follow the routine that Brahma Baba followed from Amrit Veda until nighttime. The third thing, during the day while you're performing actions, you have to churn the main points of Srimad. You have to keep reminding yourself what is Srimad for each thing that we do. And the fourth thing, she said, you have to walk around in a powerful stage of yoga. Brahma Baba used to walk and move around like a lighthouse. And so she said, you have to also walk around in that stage of light and mind. And she said, if you keep attention on these four things, you can also become a good instrument. So let me leave that anecdote with you. Shanti. Let's finish with a few minutes, Drishti, from Dadi Prakashmani.